Hello everybody, it is Sunday evening at 8 o'clock and this is Mary from Stamps-N-Lingers. If you're joining me tonight, I appreciate you spending a little bit of time with me. Give me 1/2 a second and I'm going to make sure that we're still videoing. Yep, hey Karen, I see you're on. It's good to see you today at our meeting. It was a fun day. Just so you know, Finn is exhausted, absolutely exhausted. Not easy at all being the team mascot. Hey Fran, how are you? Glad you could join. Hi Kathy and Jean, appreciate you joining. We'll give it a second here until everybody starts kind of trickling in. Hi Ginger, welcome. Yeah, he's funny about watching the computer. He's kind of getting a little camera shy. Hey Karen, hey Deborah. Every time he sees me point the camera at him, he stops doing whatever cute thing it is that I was trying to capture. So anyway, so we're going to make a cute little treat box today. Hey Paula, hey Susan, how are you? We did have a good meeting today. Hopefully one of these days you'll be joining us. So this is a little box that I blatantly cased from Sam Hammond, aka Poodles. It's crazy easy, which is good because I made about 15 of them across the weekend to take up to our meeting. And I filled them with candy. Please notice there's no candy in here. No, I did not eat it myself. Hey, Barbara and Brooke, how are you guys doing? Thank you, Karen. Appreciate that. Hey, Barbara Pendleton and Barbara Coram. We got Barbaras all over the place. This did not have candy in it. I put all the candy in the ones that I took up to the meeting, and I didn't bring any of it home because, okay, it's like crack for me. Let's just face it. But this is a very cute little box, and it held quite a bit of candy. It would easily hold, you know, one of those Cadbury eggs, the little cream eggs that are so yummy. Or some jelly beans or kind of whatever, and it holds it very nicely. So I made mine with the Delightful Daisy paper, one of my very favorite papers in the annual catalog. And then I made my sentiment with the, hi Lenny, hey Jean, glad you guys could join, and Janet and everybody, I appreciate that very much. This is from the A Good Day stamp set, which is in the Occasions catalog. And if you remember, this is something that works with the little mini embroidery hoops, so that's kind of fun. And it is also part of the new 1 3/8 inch scallop punch kind of grouping. So we're going to be playing with that as well. So with the exception of your stamps, and hey Sarah, with the exception of your stamps and your punches, the only other thing you need to make this little box is your Simply Scored. All right, so let us get going. Oh, other cool thing is it only takes a 6 by 6 inch piece of DSP. Hey Karen, hi Sarah, appreciate you joining. Thank you Karen, appreciate it. Donna, how are you? So you can get 4 of these little boxes out of one 12 by 12 sheet. So I don't know about you guys, but that's a pretty good use of DSP for me, especially as we head into Easter. These would be really great little place cards, don't you think? You could put one at everybody's place and put a little treat in it. So I think that would be cute. So let's go ahead and make one, shall we? Set this aside. And I am going to use one of my favorites of the DSPs in that pack, and it is with the beautiful sunflowers on it. Now here's the tip. You're going to make 4 score lines, all right? Let me be sure I'm in the screen here. It looks like I am. Okay, good. So, hey Angie, thank you for joining. Karen, you're going to make 4 score lines, 2 on the first 6-inch side, and then you're going to rotate and make 2 more. The first set that you make is kind of going to delineate the top of your box. So if you're using a paper like this one, where there's a very obvious top and bottom, be sure to put the top of your paper at the top of the Simply Scored board to make your first score lines. Otherwise, you'll end up with a box that has, you know, upside down flowers, which while is, you know, maybe who cares, it's just a thing. So you're going to make your first 2 score lines on this turn, and you're going to do 1 1/2. Now, just as a point of my own technique, I prefer to use the large end on DSP because I can't push quite so hard and have quite the chance of going all the way through the DSP, okay? Hey, Robbie, thank you for joining. Hi, Eunice, I'm glad you made it today. Thank you. All right, so the first score line is at 1 1/2. And you don't have to press real hard. You don't want to go through the DSP. The second one is at 4 1/2. Okay, turn a quarter to the right, put it back in the corner, and then we're going to do 2 1/4 and 3 3/4. Okay, and you're done with the Simply Scored. So we're going to set that aside right now. And then I'm going to look for my bone folder. There it is. Okay. Yes, you can hear it breaking the fibers, but it didn't go through. Hey, Amy, glad you could join. I appreciate you taking time after a long day. Okay, so can you guys see the score lines here? I think you can. I'll kind of try to turn it. It looks like you can. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fold everything and give it a burnish. And I'm not going to just rub the stink out of it. I'm just getting the folds done. Now we made a cute little box today, a treat holder at Amy's meeting, and I think I'm going to do it, or a variation on it next week on our videos. So that will be something you can look forward to. All right, so we're just making all of our creases. And then if you can see that you've got thick panels, and then on the other turn, you've got thinner panels at the top. You see that? Thick, thin. Got it? Okay. We're going to take our paper snips, and on the thin panels, I'm going to snip these score lines that make these smaller little squares. All right? And I'm just going right to the first score line that you get to. See that? See what I've done there? Okay, let me snip this other one and you can see it better. Okay, so now I have a small flap with 2 larger flaps next to it, and then I'm going to turn it and do the same thing on the other side. Okay. Okay. So, to put this together, you can start to see how it's going to come together like this, right? Okay, not quite like that, but like this. So that it'll be put together like so. And you can see what I was talking about with the up and the down on the flowers, right? Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take some fast fuse. Now, here's the thing. You could use tear and tape, and it would be perfectly acceptable, and you surely could do it. I didn't do it because I was making 15, all right? And that was taking too long for me, so I used my fast fuse. And to be quite honest, me and the fast fuse argued quite a bit over this, but that's okay. So here's how you do. You do fast fuse on the outside of these 2 small squares, and then you do fast fuse on the inside of these larger squares. Here's a tip. Do the same larger square. So don't do this one and this one, or this one and this one. Do this one and that one, okay? Or you could do this one and that one. It doesn't matter. But that's going to help get a finished front. So I'm just going to put my fast fuse on, and you want to get as much fast fuse on as you think you need, and try to get it out into the corners so that your box doesn't kind of smoosh apart, okay? And that's when you have to play with your fast fuse a little bit. Okay, so there's that one. And then I'll do this other opposite one. Now I'm watching my fast fuse, so if you guys are saying something that I don't see it right this second, I'm sorry. Rub the stink out of it. Yes, exactly. That's a thing, and you don't need to do it. Okay. Remember, DSP is thin. Now, I suppose if you were going to use one of the specialty DSPs, like maybe the Painted with Love or the Springtime Foils, you might want to give it a little stinking rub, but in this case, you don't need it. Okay, so I've got these two fast fused on the outside piece, and now I'm going to do it on the inside. See what I mean? My fast fuse is being just persnickety. On the inside of these two larger panels. Okay. Now tomorrow I'll give you a link to Sam's blog so you can see how she did hers. She did her sentiments a little different than I did. All right, so I want that to be the front because that's where the flowers are nicely upped. You'll see on this side, when you turn it up, they go upside down, yeah? So I want the finished edge here, which means I'm gonna tuck these flaps inside this flap. Okay, so first I'm going to bring the not fast fused side, which happens to be my front, and I'm going to line up this cut edge with the folded edge, all right? And just give it a little rub. Then I'm going to take the other flap and I'm going to line up the top like that and give it a rub. Okay, so you can see on the front, I just borked that. Jeez. Oh well, it'll be okay. Don't do like I did. Do the other way first. Okay. All right. So it's gonna end up being goofy, but that's okay. So just do the other side. It's paper. You may have to try it a couple of times. Here's a tip. On your first one that you make, don't have an up and a down on your paper. All right. You'd think after I did 15, I'd have gotten that straight. Regardless, there's your little box, okay? So, hey Sue, glad you're here. Hey Pat, appreciate it. All right. You're right, Kathy, I may not be checking it quite hard enough. Part of it is there's such a limited space for me to pull it. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is to make my fold to get the card going. I'm just going to use my index fingers in the middle and thumb and forefinger on the outside, and I'm going to push in and pull just to get a little bit of a crease going there. Okay, see the box starting to take shape? All right, there we go. Okay, now I'm going to take my 1/2 inch punch and I'm going to punch a hole, and all I really did was kind of eyeball the middle and down a little ways and punch that, and then I kind of just put it against the back there, and you can kind of see it through there. Can you see it? It doesn't have to be rocket science, y'all. Just make sure it's down far enough that it doesn't break the top, and then you've got a hole, and that's where we're going to put our ribbon in just a second. Okay, so let's set this aside and make us a sentiment, shall we? I think you're out of the Daisy DSP. Okay. Oh, wow. Oh, Brooke, you're bringing the DSP cards to Atlanta. That'll be cool. This will work with any DSP, any sentiment. That's kind of the fun part about it. If you've got DSP sitting around and you need to make some little party favors, rock on with this. All right, so I'm going to use the Just Because stamp from the A Good Day. There's several different options. If you were doing little Easter baskets, do the little bunny inside the stitched circle, or you could do the swing under the tree or whatever. Just whatever works for you. When you see, if you go to Sam's blog site, you'll see that she did just a straight sentiment on a banner that she adhered to the front. So, you know, it's your little box. Do whatever makes you happy with it. I'm going to use Just Because. And for this one, I'm going to make it with Night of Navy. On some of the DSPs, I used Tranquil Tide for this portion, but I kind of like the Night of Navy with the Daffodil Delight and the Old Olive, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to stamp it on a scrap piece of Whisper White. Hey, Donna, appreciate it. Jean, I tried to punch both holes at the same time, but the problem is you can't really, without just squishing the heck out of it, you can't really get far enough down in there with the punch. If you see Sam, she used a handheld punch that's larger than what we've got now. So I had to kind of make do with the 1/2 inch, and that's why I did 2 separate punch holes. But it's not very difficult. It isn't, it's not hypercritical that they be perfect. All right. Okay, so I've got this stamp now in Night of Navy, and I'm just going to take my 1 3/8 inch scallop circle punch. This is new in the Occasions catalog. And get that kind of lined up and punch it out. And while I'm busy punching and kind of waiting for my ink to dry, I'm going to take my 1 1/2 inch straight edge punch and punch an Old Olive matte. And then we'll set that all aside. All right, so now I'm going to take my Old Olive Stampin' Right marker and just color these little doohahs in here. They look like teardrops, but they go in a circle, and so, I don't know, they're teardrop shapes. All right. Just get those all colored in. On the ones where I stamped the Sentiment and Tranquil Tide, I used a Daffodil Delight matte, and I used my Daffodil Delight Stampin' Right marker to fill in the little teardrops. Okay. Now I'm going to take 2 dimensionals. You can see how fast this goes. If you're making a bunch of them, cut your 6x6 squares, all of them. Do all of your score lines, and then do all of your snips. Assemble all of your boxes. Make all your sentiments, put them together. Don't forget to stuff your stuff in. I used the Sweet Soiree Ready Shreddy, and I just kind of cut it up into smaller little lengths so that it would fit inside there a little better. And then I put my treats in, and then I did my bow. Okay? And so that is what I would recommend that you do, especially if you're making a bunch of them. Kind of set yourself up a little assembly line. And I'm just popping this sentiment onto my mat, and I was going to use a Daffodil Delight, but I did not have another Daffodil Delight heart, so this one's going to have an Old Olive heart, like that. Okay. Now, take a little liquid glue. I'm gonna, hey Phyllis, glad you're here. I'm glad you found me too. Just gonna take a little liquid glue and put it on the front. Let me find my front. I'm gonna call this the front. This is the front. For me, it's the front because it's got the finished front edge. The flowers are upside down. We're gonna pretend we don't care. Flowers could be upside down. Lots of my flowers end up upside down right before they say, see ya, wouldn't wanna be ya. So I'm just giving that a little push to get it kind of adhered. And then we're ready to ribbonize it. Because I'm not putting any candy or anything in here because, you know, hello, I don't need any candy around. Okay. So to make this, we're gonna go from the front. This is Night of Navy 5/8 inch crinkled seam binding ribbon. You could use any ribbon that you wanted. I kind of like this. I think it makes a pretty bow. Okay, so take it, thread from the front to the back, pull it through, go over the back, and back through the front hole like that. And that's going to help pull everything together when you make your bow and kind of keep the box straightened up. So now we'll cut that off like that and tie us a little bow just like this. I like using this crinkled seam binding because it makes an easy enough bow for me to do, and I like it to look a little casual on here. I wish we had Daffodil Delight crinkled seam binding. And then just kind of straighten that out like so. Give it a little snip and a little snip. And we're done. That is it. Right there. Boom. So you get them with Peekaboo Peach and Daffodil Delight, and that's a Calypso Coral enamel shape because I don't have any Peekaboo Peach ones. And then the other one is with the Old Olive and Night of Navy accents. And you can make a whole bunch of them with not a whole lot of DSP, and it's kind of bing bada boom. All right, people. I know this has been very short and sweet, and there's nothing wrong with the occasional short and sweet. So I'm going to let you go unless you have any questions. I will wait a few seconds to see if anybody wants to add a question. And if not, thank you, Lenny. I appreciate that. Thanks, Barb. Appreciate that, Linda. I think you guys will like next week's. It's a little more involved, but it's a very cute little basket to make. I think you'll enjoy it. All right, guys, I'm going to sign off now, and I hope you all have a wonderful week, and that I will see you back here next Sunday. Thanks. Bye.